Hey, good evening, everybody. Good evening to you, man. I want to welcome you guys back to the Conversation 9-8, and I'm truly happy, truly excited to be on here before you again for a whole nother week. Got another week, another episode, and that's something that I'm truly excited about. And I hope all is well, man. I hope everything's going well with everybody. And I hope your week is going well because today is a great day, man. It's a great day. I know. Uh, I'm excited. This week things are starting to cool off a little bit, and not only cool off, but I'm getting to kind of like the part of the year that I enjoy. Football season is on, so I get my football fix um, and just slow it down. I just want to enjoy to slow down. But tonight, man, another episode of the Conversation 9-8, and I want to send a shout out to my baby girl Nia. I want to thank her for inspiration. She is the one behind the subject for tonight. So with all that being said, man, I love my baby girl, and I wanted to just give her a shout out. Hey, how you doing, Miss Shirley Shepherd? Good evening to you. Good evening to you. But yeah, I want to give baby girl a shout out and thank her for the topic for tonight because when I reached out and she mentioned it, and I said, man, I think that'll be good. So, and I just wanted to touch on that tonight. I'm sharing this with a few people, and we're gonna get right into it. Won't be before you long. Won't be before you guys long. But again, man, thank you guys for rocking with your boy. Episode 193 episodes strong. Right now, 4 years in, going to 4 years into this thing, and man, look, I just want to continue to keep bringing a good content, positive content to the internet. Shout out to Alabama State. Usually don't rock Alabama State. They're my rival school, but shout out to Alabama State. Wanted to show them some love. HBCU out of Montgomery, Alabama, where my father got his master's degree from, and I know a lot of my people that I grew up with graduated from there too. But with all that being said and done, man, we want to go ahead on and get started with it. And what we're going to talk about tonight is and I think it's very important, a very important topic, but it's going to go over. But not everything that you see on the internet is real or as it seems, and not everything. And I wanted to point that out because in today's of social media, I love social media. Social media, I think, is one of the greatest inventions of this century. I really do think so. I think it's a way that people can stay connected. You can connect with a lot of different people in ways that we just did not have it as I was growing up. But a lot of things with that means that everything that you see on social media don't mean that it's real or as it seems, because people not going to they're always going to try to portray their best foot forward. And now, especially now with everything so image based and everybody want a certain image, they'll portray themselves one way on social media. But then when you meet them in person or you realize or you may know them in real life, you look at them like, bro, that ain't real. So that you got to be careful with that. I mean, seriously, you have to be careful with that. How you doing, Sammy? Mr. Hedgeman, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in up there in New York. But yeah, we got to be careful. We got to look at that because I saw somebody said it and it was funny to me. But I saw this meme and the meme said they wish Facebook or social media had you lying button or you lying thing, like you have a like button and an unlike button. But they said they wish you had a you lying button because we know a lot of times it's funny. It's like, you can see people on social media and you know how they are in real life, but they portray an image to everybody else that don't know them. And people may be attracted to how they're presenting themselves. But you look behind it and you like, bro, you know you lying, right? You know that's not how you are. But that's what I said. And that's why I want to talk about it. You got to be realized that not everything you see on the internet is real or as it seems. And some people really get off on it because some people dedicate their whole life right now. They dedicate their entire life to fitting the image instead of their audio matching their visual and them just really being who they are. And it's sad, but a lot of people feel like that's the way that they have to be to make it. A lot of people do. A lot of people do. How you doing? Good evening to you, Miss Beverly Fields Williams. How you doing? Thank you for tuning in. But yeah, that's something. You think about it, and it's more now because of social media. But I can remember and I can say this, I can remember growing up, it was hard because we didn't have these platforms. We didn't have it. You had to go through TV, had to do news ads, have to do all of these things. Where now you could just post stuff on your page from your platform, which I love and I'm a huge advocate for. But there's so many things that people are doing right now to try to go viral or to try to get a platform, or they're chasing this grandiose thing. And there's even people who are leaving their jobs, quitting their jobs with kids and not trying to have any stability. And what the only thing they're focused on is them going viral, them becoming famous, or them want to reach a certain amount of followers. But when I look at that, you know, it goes to show how people really now, what they willing to do just for the sense of a perception from people that they don't know. And that's why I said, not everything that you see on the internet is real, because we don't really know what these people are going through. It's just an image that we see. And it's an image that people try to put forward. And it's sad for a lot of people. How you doing, Ella Heron? Hey, good evening to you. Miss Thomas, Carolyn Thomas, good evening to you as well. But yeah, I just really wanted to jump on that and talk about that because it's real. Because baby girl, I taught my baby girl, she said, Dad, won't you talk about not everything you see on the internet is real? And I wanted to say that because you know, there's nothing wrong, and I say this, there's nothing wrong with wanting to portray an image of yourself and want to have consistency with the image that you portray yourself. I'm not talking about that. There's nothing wrong with it. But what I am talking about is you're portraying yourself as one thing on the internet, but you know you're different on the other side. And eventually that will catch up to you in the sense of you will get exposed, or people will see you and they're like, dang, I didn't know this person would like that. But just be true to yourself. And I know it may not seem fun to you. It may not be the trend that's going, that's popular. But if you stay true to yourself, you never have to worry about switching it up. And you never have to worry about being exposed, because if they expose you, you're already being who you are in the first place. You stand true to yourself. Don't lie to yourself for the sense of what you thinking that you're going to get somebody else to support you, or image that other people are going to follow you. But a lot of these followers, they just you may say one thing that they like, or you may present something that they like, but that don't mean that them people support you or even know or care about you. I'm dead serious. And listen, I get it. I understand a lot of people make money off of social media right now. And I'm not that is not what I'm knocking. What I am saying is not everything you see is real. Especially now, we can even go and you know, you can look at how things are false with AI, or with how people take messages and they run with certain things. One thing I would say though, and it's very critical, but people need to understand, we have to understand that we should be genuine in our approach of how we present ourselves, especially on, I would say, social media or on the internet. But the thing we have to also realize is you have to be the one responsible for controlling your narrative. And sometimes we feel like we don't have to, and especially in some senses you don't. But if you're a person that's on here, you shouldn't allow other people to control your narrative. That's one of the reasons why we see a big shift right now in media with former athletes talking about sports, because they're saying now they have the voice to speak truth to power on things, and people are more interested in what they have to say instead of what it used to be, where you had the journalists, the ones that was controlling the narrative, and they may put something out that was misleading. And now the players are saying, no, that's not what I said, or the former players, and they saying that's not what I said, or they're giving a unique perspective that people are drawn to because they're drawn to the authenticity of that. They're drawn to that authenticity. You know, one thing about it, and we talking about social media, man, look, we can get on here and I can portray one thing. And one thing about it, I want people to understand. Now, I'm not suggesting that you get on here and you put all your business out in the street. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting that you get on here and you tell everybody everything that's going on. No, keeping it real don't mean that you tell everybody everything. And we talking about keep it real. I'm just saying being authentic, being true to yourself. Don't try to portray something that is not really true. Like me, I'm far from perfect. Far from perfect. I got my flaws. I got issues that I'm going through. I got insecurities that I deal with. And I try to be as transparent as possible, because I never want to come off as somebody who try to act like they got it all together, because those are 100% lies. Nobody do. Nobody do. Nobody has it all together. People have things that they dealing with. I got that. what I want people to understand is if you are consistent and you are put in the work to be consistent and authentic in how you present yourself, you know, you're the one that can be real and not be considered fake. But a lot of people, they are willing to go with the image instead of putting the work to deal with themselves or be true to who they are. A lot of people do that. And it's sad, but that's just how some people roll. And that's just how some people like to be. But it is what it is. Yes, and that is nobody has it all together. You know, and one thing, and this is, I know this is not this, yeah, this is like the internet too. I can go and say it too. One of the biggest, and this is something I talk about a lot, but one of the biggest issues that people have with the church today is the perception. And people have the church, there are a lot of people, they want to present this thing like we're just perfect. Like we don't have any issues, that we always in a good mood. And I'm not telling you that we should have to go around and have an attitude or whatever, but let's be realistic. You know, let's share with people the real things that we go through in life. People have been through some stuff. You don't know what the next person has been through that's sitting next to you. So why are we trying to portray this thing like everything bells and whistles and we always happy? No, we should be honest, open and honest, and especially if we talk about presenting it online. Because the thing about it is this: you may go viral with some stuff that's fake, but eventually it'll get exposed. But it's something that's authentic, something that's real, people will be drawn to that, and it will be long lasting. And people can relate to that because it speaks to the level of authenticity in which you are presenting it. It does. It does. And that's something that, for me, I have a problem with as a church, how we always try to present something in a way that a lot of people look at and kind of be like, no, that's not real. And but the reality is our walk is real. And I wasn't even going to talk about this, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it. But when we walk with God and have a relationship with God, we should not get on here and try to portray it as if everything is perfect, or as if everything is good, or as if all of our emotional, from an emotional place, we are happy all the time. No, every day I don't feel like I'm blessed and highly favored. Some days I want to punch somebody in the face. Other days I don't want to be bothered. Some days I have bad days. I have insecurities that I have to deal with. Some other things, you know, but it's okay to tell somebody that it's okay, because the problem is when other people come around us, what they see is they like, that's not real, because I would never reach that. So while we present these things, especially on social media and the internet, as believers, as if we got it all figured out, when the reality is we don't. And we can talk to people about what God has worked on us and came through, brought us through, and people will be drawn to the authenticity of it. They will be drawn to it, period. I mean, drawn to it. And one thing about it, and I want people to understand this, and this is why a lot of people don't talk about it, but one of the biggest issues, many of the biggest issues that people have as far as with being truthful and honest, and especially about their walk with God and things that they deal with, they struggle with that because they don't want other people to know the reality that they deal with, or the reality of the things that they deal with, or the reality of what God has brought them from. And what happens is this, and I saw it happen so many times: God will send people who need your testimony, who need the things that need to hear it from your perspective and the things that God has brought you through. God will send them to you, but you so busy trying to hide what God brought you from, because you don't want to be perceived a certain way, that you allow those people to continue to struggle with something that God gave you the grace to overcome, so that your testimony can be a blessing and a breakthrough for them. And sadly, many of us, we're going to be held accountable because we were too prideful to open our mouth and share our testimony. We were too prideful. I mean, and I'm talking about real stuff. I'm talking about the real stuff, and not just the internet, but not everything that you see in life and on the internet is as it seems. And I want people to really understand that this is not a knock, or this is not I'm not condemning this, but it's something that's really been on my heart, and it's been on my heart real strong to talk about, because People are, and people, listen, I'm telling you right now, and it's God on the truth. People are drawn to authenticity. People are seriously drawn to authenticity. It doesn't matter if you are authentically right or authentically wrong in your doing. People are drawn to something that is authentic. So why not we do the best we can with being as real and as authentic as possible? Because some of the funny thing to me, people like to say, "Oh, they keep it real." Most of the time, when people claim that they keep it real, what they're doing is they're more committed to upholding an image than they are being authentic. And that, to me, that is that shows that they are really cowards, because they're more concerned about other people's opinion than them, instead of them being authentic and genuine towards who they are. Oh, I just keep it real. No, you really insecure, and your quote unquote saying you keeping it real is an attempt to keep people away from knowing who you really are. So that's your way of trying to protect yourself. That's what that is. I mean, and that's what it is. And we just have to be honest and open about that, and being able to walk in there. Be able to walk in there. Not you be perfect. I'm not calling for people to be perfect. Man, nobody is perfect. And that's the thing. Nobody is perfect. So I don't know why we try to act like we are. Nobody is perfect, but we can be authentic. And this is the thing. In the Bible, it says older women teach younger women how to be wives, and older men teach younger men how to be husbands. The reason why we don't see that happen in the church as it is instructed as in the Bible is because a lot of the older couples or older people don't want to be honest with the younger couples about what realness is in relationships. They don't want to be honest about those things. Hey, baby. Hey, let me give you some advice over here. Hey, young man, let me tell you something. Hey, you need to look at it like this. And because they don't want people to think that they had struggles. They don't want people to think that God then brought them through some stuff, because they want to be seen as they're just this, they're at this level of spirituality and they're just floating on cloud nine. No, that's a lie. That's 100% a lie. And that's why so many younger couples struggle in church, because the older couples aren't willing to be transparent and pour into them and share from their experience to help them out. I mean, I equate it to the same thing. It's almost as if my son is going through something. My son is dealing with something, but I myself won't tell him, hey, man, I'm going to share this experience with you. Hey, that's not good to do that way because of X, Y, Z. Because I'm too afraid for him knowing that I went through that. Man, we got to do better than that. I remember, and it's funny, I remember my daughter going to college, and when my daughter went to college, we sat down and I had a conversation with her, and I shared with her some things from a male's perspective, or some things to look out for. And it was a very interesting conversation, because some of the things that I was sharing with her, she never saw a certain side of me like that, because I have matured, or she only seen me one way. She saw me operating in the church or doing these things. But I ain't always been there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not perfect, nowhere near perfect. But sharing those experiences really helped open her eyes to the realities of what she was going to face, and especially coming from the opposite sex. Some of the tactics that were going to be used, some of the things that was going to be done, and how to be self-aware and look out for herself. And that was just me being transparent and open and honest. But the sad part is, many of us, from a parent or whatever place, we don't want to be open and honest with people, because we don't want people to see us for the reality of who we are. We don't. And we allow people to go down a rabbit hole and deal with consequences that they would not have to deal with if we would have just shared with them. But we so prideful that we don't want nobody to know. And that's sad. We shouldn't do that, but it is what it is. But man, I just wanted to say, not everything that you see on the internet is real or as it seems. And the thing about it is, we have to look at it from the perspective of how do I decipher what's real and what's not? And a lot of that comes from you being grounded, you being open-minded, you doing things for yourself, being able to critically think, and don't just take something and run with it. Ask those questions. And one of the things, and it's funny, one of the funniest thing is, I've been asked a lot of times about me and my faith, or why do I believe in God, or why do I believe in Jesus Christ? And a lot of people will come to me with all of these different things, and they'll talk about, slavery. They'll talk about the works of the church, and some of their sins of the church, and all of these things. But nobody ever wants to ask me what was my experience. When I sit down and I talk, this is why I believe. I don't believe because of slavery. I don't believe because of this, that, and the third. I believe because of my experience. I believe because over my life and my experience and me and my application of God's word and working through things, and God showing himself strong and showing himself consistent and showing himself never leaving me. That is why I believe. That is why I walk with the confidence and the assurance that God is real to me, because of my experience. I'm not knocking nobody else, but I'm speaking from my experience. Yes, ma'am. Be honest, because I have not always been this way. And, that is a very powerful thing. And it's something that can be so helpful to people if we just be honest. But, we should just be honest and share our experiences, especially with people that we love and we close to, because we ain't always been the way that we are. We haven't. Have not always been the way that we are. We have not always had the answers. And a lot of us, we done been through some stuff. God done really dealt with us and healed us from some stuff. And just tell them, share with your kids that you dealt with insecurities. Share with your kids about things that the truth about your reality. Share with your kids stuff that share with your kids the stuff you was ashamed with, because I promise you, the same stuff you're ashamed with, the same stuff that you're struggling with, it's the same stuff that they struggling with. And if you share with them, they won't feel isolated the same way you felt isolated and felt like you had to walk and deal with that thing on your own. Be honest and truthful, because you being honest and truthful will be the breakthrough that they need to help encourage them to walk in their victory or to walk in their healing. Just be honest. Like, I don't know why, like the other day, I was watching TV, and the other day I felt led to apologize to my oldest kids, to send them a note and apologize to them. I was just watching TV and I thought about something, and I realized that I had failed as a father in certain things, doing a certain thing. And I reached out to them and I offered them an apology. And the reason why I offered them an apology was because I wanted them to understand that I realized that I had erred in certain things. And I ain't just I could have just not said nothing and be like, oh, I was a dad and I did this and I did that for them. No, I wanted to be honest, open and honest with them so that they can see that I'm human. And a lot of us, we're so prideful that we don't want to go back, or we don't want to take ownership. And our kids and those close to us suffering in silence because they never feel like they can have a dialogue with us. And we always act like we had things together. And a lot of us, we did the best we knew how to. I'm not telling you to apologize for you doing the best you knew how to, but some things we did was just wrong. It was just wrong. It wasn't wrong. It wasn't our intent to be wrong. As we go back and we look back over, we realize like, dang, that wasn't the right thing to do in that moment. It was maybe have been the best decision, but that wasn't the right thing to do in that moment. And there's nothing wrong with apologizing. So just realize everything you see on the internet, everything you see in life is not real or as it seems. Just be authentic in the way that you approach life. Be authentic in the way that you live your life and how you interact with others, because people listen, man, we have to also understand this. And I think a lot of us struggle with this, accepting this, but many of us need to realize that the grace of God that God gave us to overcome something or get through something, God gave us that grace to be a blessing to somebody else. And I can think back on it when God gave me the grace of going through a divorce, when God gave me the grace of dealing with depression or overcoming anxiety or battling suicidal ideations or coming through dealing with PTSD. And all of this happened at one time. And I can remember God asking God when I was going through it. I kept asking God, why me? Why me? And God kept saying, why not? And I was upset and I was mad and I was angry at God. But I realized because I went through there, I can talk about forgiveness. And I can talk about forgiveness from an authentic place. I can talk about walking in and healing. I can talk about dealing with depression or how those things feel. I can talk about how do you combat depression and suicidal ideations because I went through it and I'm not afraid to talk about it because I realized God's grace was an assignment for me to be a blessing to somebody else. It was. And many of us, we got to get to that space to where we got to get out of trying to portray an image and be real and authentic with who we are, because people are depending on you to be who you are. They are depending on you to be who you are. So understand that God's grace, when God's grace comes with an assignment. God's grace comes with an assignment. When God gives you the grace to come out of something, God's grace comes with an assignment, and that assignment it has people lives attached to it. It had people lives attached to it. And I understand the enemy wants you to feel like that it was, that was it. And that's all it was. No, God gave you the grace to overcome it because God wanted to show you that, hey, look, I got something for you so you can be a blessing to other people. Listen, man, look at it. We can talk about Joseph and how Joseph was sold into slavery and how Potiphar's wife lied on him and how he went to jail and all these things and how God, all these bad things that happened to him. But it was all part of God gave him grace to endure that so that he can be elevated in the end. And other people were blessed because it was an assignment attached to the grace that God gave him. And we got to understand that for ourselves. We got to walk in that ourselves. And we got to realize that we don't have to waste time presenting an image when we're really being authentic to who we are. We don't have to waste time presenting an image when we are being authentically who we are. So, man, I hope you guys have a blessed and wonderful week. And, the rest of this weekend, man, I pray that God blessing is with you always. And man, thank y'all for tuning in, man. Make sure y'all go and check me out on social media on the Conversation 98 on YouTube, on here. If you watch it on any one of these platforms, you can go to the Conversation 98 on Facebook. Man, I'm just happy. I'm on the Conversation _98 on TikTok. Anthony, my cousin, said, though I know God, I still struggle with suicide, depression. But I still tell people about the blessing that God got me through. And you're welcome, Miss Williams. I do want to say this, and man, look, I want people to understand this. And this is thank you, God. Many times when God heals us, that still doesn't mean that we don't have to manage what God healed us from. God can heal you from depression and bring you out of depression, but we got to get to a space to where we can manage us not falling back into depression. We got to develop certain tools and certain things and understanding those triggers and things that will take us to a place. They said that we all have a thorn in the side. It's funny that when God met with Moses and told Moses to go and free his people, Moses came with all these excuses. God didn't take the excuses away. Moses said, I'm slow of speech. I stutter. God said, okay, I ain't take your stutter away, but I got your brother Aaron. Kind of see what I'm saying? In a lot of those ways, God may not take the thing away from us. We still may have to carry that, but we also understand that we need to be able to get to a space where we manage it. And we have to be responsible for acknowledging and seeing those things, how it impacts us. And once we realize that, we'll realize that is what really bring us through. That what bring us through. That what keep us connected to God, because we realize if I don't stay tied to God on this, then I'm easily can fall back into that space. So yeah, I tell you, yeah, I still struggle with it. I still struggle with certain things. I got to realize, like, dang, you know, I struggle with loneliness. I struggle with feeling like abandonment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I struggle with all of these things. Like, and those are things where, you know, and that's why and it's okay to talk about it. It's okay not to have good days. It's okay. It is 100% okay. The problem is when you stay in that place. Now, what I can do is I can go back and I can look back when God healed me, and I can say, you know what, God, you brought me through it before. I know you can bring me through it again. But one thing I realized too is sharing my experience and sharing my experience of my experience of me experiencing God's grace in situations, sharing it with other people, not only encourages other people, but it reminds me of who God said that I am, or who God said that He is to me. And that encouraged my faith, and that strengthened me in my faith, and that encouraged me, and I can begin to overcome some things. Because sometimes we just have to remind ourselves. You know, the Bible said David encouraged himself in the Lord. And sometimes encouraging others, God, it encourages us. Yes, people see you smiling, but they don't know the struggle behind that smile, but God. But the thing is, too many of us, we don't want to share what that struggle was because we don't want nobody to know. I ain't saying you got to tell all your business, but God sent somebody to you. God has sent people to you. There's an assignment there's certain people that only you can speak to. Your story, the grace that God did for your story will help them get out of the situation. I'm telling you. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope you guys have a great and wonderful weekend. And I look forward to what God has in store. And, you know, tonight we went a whole totally different way, but it was God ordained to talk about that. And I hope you share this with somebody. I hope, yep. And Miss Williams said, wisdom gained through experience, always encouraged to talk about. Yes. Yes. Listen, talking about one thing I learned, talking about what God brought you through will help take the shame away from what you've been through. And the reason why it's hard for many of us to talk about it because we too ashamed of it. So, man, you guys have a great and wonderful day, man. Got love for you guys, and hopefully see you guys next week. God bless.